Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and welcome to episode number 8 of the Polarizer podcast. In this episode, I'll continue my interview with Marnix. We talk a lot about photography in this episode, so if you're into that, this is going to be a good episode for you. We get a bit technical, and we talk about different lenses to use and different approaches to the art. And we also talk about how he does photography in the rock and roll kind of way, in his own words, which means going into subway tunnels in the middle of the night and almost getting run over by trains. So good stuff. And later on we get into the mind-altering substances that Marnix took on his trip and how it led to some revelations. We talk about LSD and some other interesting stuff. And there are some good stories involving romance, spontaneous hippie festivals in the middle of the woods in Nepal, and some good stories about his adventures with the tribes in Papua New Guinea. And towards the end, we talk a little bit about martial arts and the lessons he took from that in his journey. So another interesting one, wide range of topics. And I think this episode reflects very well what I want the show to be. There are a lot of original thoughts in this one, and a lot of different ways of looking at things that were new to me. Very inspiring stuff too. Right after recording, I wanted to pack my bags again and leave again for a faraway land. So without further ado, here's episode number 8, and I hope you enjoy.
Recorded someplace random on this interesting planet we live on, with your host, Dick Hubey. You're listening to the Polarizer podcast.
Here we are. Hello.
We're back.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks for coming on again, dude.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
Episode number 6, part 2, I guess.
Yeah. It's season 5, no? That's important to say as well.
Yeah. Man, yeah, thanks. It's I had a lot of fun last time.
Yes.
Now we're sitting in
Me too.
on a balcony in the city, and nice view.
Yes, for sure.
Yeah, different environment, but still pretty nice.
It's a bit cloudy. It's like a Dutch summer weather, really.
Yeah.
We got a few days of really hot sun, and now it's like a bit. It's not chilly, but it's cloudy, and
Yeah,
it's not sunny, but it's fine.
it's not cold. It's not cold. Yeah. So and it's not raining. So that's I'm happy with that.
Yeah. It's very classic that we start off with speaking about the weather.
Yeah.
I guess it's the number one topic where guys speak of when they meet each other.
Yeah, or the number one Dutch thing to do would be to bitch about the weather. You know?
Yeah. Have a bit of complaining going on for sure.
Exactly. Yeah, dude. Well, we had so much to talk about last time, which is why we're doing this part 2 thing. So one thing I wanted to talk a little bit more about was your photography, because obviously that's a big passion thing for you.
For sure, yeah.
I love it too. I've been doing it too for many years, and recently you acquired some new sweet gear.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, can you started out with a Samsung DSLR, right?
Yes, it's true. It's like the camera I have right now. It's basically a better version of the kind of system what the Samsung was.
Mm-hmm.
I guess you call it DSLR in English, yeah? What we call systeemcamera in Dutch.
No, DSLR is with the mirror.
Yeah.
Those are the big ones, and what we call a systeemcamera or system camera, you call mirrorless.
Mirrorless, for sure.
There's no mirror in it. And you look through the screen on the back, or a little OLED screen in your viewfinder, instead of actually using a mirror looking through the lens. So
and that's what I use. So it's basically a digital camera with changeable lenses.
Yeah,
and so you can create a system of
which
the
one
lenses
is it?
you like. So the one I use right now, it's the Fujifilm X-T2.
Right,
and that's a very it's compact, and it's very strongly built Like it can have some a bit of rain and a bit of falling down.
Right.
And
which is what you need if you're gonna go on an adventure, you know.
But I use my camera in a rock and roll way, man. I put it on sidewalks where cars is passing by, and I use my to balance it to get the right the photograph. I use like my wallet and a lighter to point it up or point it down.
Use it as yeah.
I don't always have the tripod with me, so like you get creative, and yes, for sure, it got some bruises on the way.
Well, but that's the way to do it, man. Like, I got a nice camera too, and I took it on my world travel too, and it's got some dings, it's got some scratches, but that gives it personality, man.
For sure, for sure.
You know, like you don't buy a camera to
keep it in the box.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. You know.
yeah, and that's man. When you do something crazy with your camera, usually it's the moment you get the sickest fucking photographs as well.
Exactly, man. Yeah.
You get this fucking weird angle and where cars are passing by from very close to very far away or something. You find something cool.
Right.
You find something cool.
Yeah, that's cool, man. You got a bunch of lenses with it too, right?
Yes. I chose.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, I chose lenses from Carl Zeiss. I guess it's a German brand.
Yeah, but it's very good stuff.
Yeah. And so I chose prime lenses, so lenses which cannot zoom, because it affects the quality of the picture in a positive way. So the pictures basically, because there's no movable,
less glass.
Yeah, there's less glass inside, and there's no movable items. So the whole lens is solid.
Less refractions.
Yes, exactly. So the picture will be more sharp and more bright and shit.
Yeah. So that's for all the people out there who want to invest in a camera system. Usually, when you buy a camera, it comes with a standard zoom.
Yes.
That goes from like wide angle to zoom. I guess
like an 18 to 55 millimeter. That's really standard.
I mean, and that gives you a decent wide angle for landscape, and you can zoom into to do portraits and stuff and details. Yeah. If you get a lens that only has one focal distance, you get the best pictures. You get more contrast. You get more sharpness, and
that makes the thrill even bigger. And when you took a fucking good picture,
that too, yeah. And what it also does, it forces you to properly frame your pictures, because it's like if you have a zoom lens, it's almost cheating, you know. Like I mean, that's not fair, I guess, but it makes it a lot easier. Yeah. And if you just have that one focal distance, it forces you to really get creative. And once you get used to having one focus distance, you really, after a while, you instinctively know what you can do with it right away, you know. And
you can estimate the distance to your object much better. You think within
your limit.
Yes, exactly. The only frame you have, and then you go closer, go further away.
It's the fastest way to get good at photography, I think. Just put a prime lens on your camera.
It's a big advice anyway for quality of pictures to how to use photography for everybody back home. That's the way to go.
Yeah, dude. So you got a bunch of primes. Just run off the little list of what you got in your bag.
Oh, there's a lot of different stuff like filters and.
Let's start with the lenses.
Let's start with the lenses. So I got 3 lenses with me. There's one Carl Zeiss 12 millimeters, and since this is not the biggest size sensor,
it's a crop sensor.
You can. It's basically an equivalent of 18 millimeters.
Okay.
When you really look to the angle of view.
Yeah. So for those who don't know about that, like like a camera has a sensor which captures the image itself, and the lens you put on your camera, projects the image on this sensor, and you have different sensor sizes, and a big sensor makes really nice pictures, but it gives a very heavy camera, extremely expensive camera too. And if you get a crop sensor, you get a more compact camera, but it also changes the way the millimeters work. So if like you said, like you had a
12 millimeter,
12 millimeter, which would be an 18 millimeter on a full frame camera, which is like full frame is the same size as what standard film. So that's still the way. That's still the standard, you know. So yeah, just
go on. So
talk in terms of the equivalent. That's the easiest way, I think. So
exactly.
yeah.
So there's one of that, 12 millimeter, and then there's a 32 millimeter, also Zeiss prime lens,
and that's like 32 equivalent, right?
It's 50 something equivalent.
50, okay, yeah. Okay.
So I got that to work with. I like to make landscape photography. Mainly at night. So when I like the lines and the structures next to each other, and when there's light passing by or shadows going on, I like to use the wide angle to take all this story of different lines and different shadows, contemplating. Within the frame of the picture.
So long exposure shots where you can see like movement and light and all that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's very cool.
And then I got one, and that's a bit new for me. I got one lens which has 100 millimeters to 250 millimeters.
That's a big zoom.
Yeah. Or it starts at 50 millimeters to 200 millimeters, and that's an equivalent of like 75 to 300.
Okay, yeah.
75. So, and that's a big zoom, and that's a bit new for me. That, like in my previous system, I didn't have a zoom like this, and this is where I'm excited of. Because it will change my photography a bit. Like I will go deeper into stuff, closer up to stuff, and for sure I will be experimenting with this, and it will change my way of capturing things for sure. Because this is now also part of the package.
Yeah, and that's the fun thing of photography too. Like if you put a new lens on your camera, you get a whole new way of using your camera right away. I mean, I've been into photography for many years, but I never really had a zoom lens. Like I just never had one, but I'd like to get into it. But it's like a whole different approach to it. It's it's
for sure.
Yeah. I'm sure you're gonna have fun with that, man. You're gonna take very different photos with it too.
Yeah.
Are you gonna get into wildlife and stuff, or just try to focus on things in the on people or in nature? Like what's your main subject usually? Like,
well, for this travel, I chose to. Or I am choosing, because I'm now in the preparing phase.
Yeah.
But I'm choosing to work not to use pictures on their own, or use pictures which I shoot within a certain environment, say Paris or in the Dordogne or somewhere. But I'm now having the approach of try to create a documentary within different subjects of my photography. So for sure there will be one which is called traveling light, which is the style and the way of photography where we spoke earlier about, like the long exposure ones with passing cars and shadows. And this is something really I find it very inspiring to do.
Right.
There will be one. Like I'm close to art. I like the expression of the soul. So when somebody, without any assignment, or he needs to do it for somebody else, but when somebody creates something from his own, so uses his creativity and goes within to make a painting or to sing a song or to, I like this way of expression, and this will be a subject as well. To have the artists with their art. And right now, I started off with this, and it's mainly like painters or graffiti artists.
Okay.
I've been like a few weeks ago. I've been going with a graffiti artist. He's a friend of mine, and we went into like a train tunnel
Oh man!
And at night, and he went to do his whole thing, and I was just shooting, and that's amazing shots, amazing light.
I believe you, man. That's awesome. Yeah. Like, were trains still running, or?
Yeah, well, they were not supposed to.
Oh, dude,
but up to two times.
That's how accidents happen, man.
Oh no, yeah, like it's at night, so you can hear them from far away. Like it's not the danger of being hit, but it's the danger of being caught. It's
Right.
really like you feel like a little.
It's exciting.
Little child playing a game.
Yeah. You're not supposed to be there.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a little dangerous, you know.
Yeah, it's a little dangerous.
You can go to jail.
Yeah. And that's the funny thing. For the sake of that, you're making art.
Right.
So he made something really cool. It was not some stupid text with black on the wall. It was a whole colorful piece, and he makes art. He pays his well-earned money to get spray cans of paint, and he painted on a wall where he's not supposed to. He's able to cut and everything, but still it's fun. For him, it's very, very much worth it.
Yeah, I can see, like, it's also a rush, of course, you know. I can see it. Yeah, it's, you know, it's exciting.
Yeah.
I understand why people do it. You know, it's like, yeah.
So I got and I have this, and I have other very good friends which are painters and also.
By the way, like, what's the name of this guy? Like, can we follow him somewhere? Or
that's not smart to speak of.
Okay,
since it's not accepted by everyone.
Oh yeah, sure. So, but some graffiti artists, like they have like a, you know, like they put all their stuff on the internet and they have a big following, you know. So and usually under like an anonymous name or something. But I don't know. That's
and that's
Don't rat out the guy to the cops, because we know the cops are listening. Like
we know you're there.
They're one of our 10 million listeners.
Yeah. And like this, I can even say afterwards that I made it up. You know, so I'm cool like this, and he's cool too. So I prefer this way.
It was just a joke.
All right. So, and I have different friends as well, which are painter and which like to have this interaction with their paint and to follow the lines which are there already, like to really dive into this bubble of where they just see the brush going over the piece and the paint moving, and then they create from the soul, and I saw that in them as well. So I shoot them as well a lot.
But that's the way you also look at your photography, right?
Yes, but it's the way I like to create. I don't like to create from the mind. I don't like to create from out process of thinking, that I think things out and then take that. But I like to create from like the childish part of me,
Right.
Like the creativity, just the sudden idea which is there, like why not do it this way, and then
the id, if you will, like
the id.
Yeah.
Something which is a bit more like the head is in the mind,
right.
the mind is in the head, and if you go a bit more down to your belly and to something which is a bit more vague and but very interesting place inside, that's where these ideas come from.
Right. Yeah. I think that's where most good art comes from. I think.
I believe so.
Yeah.
I believe so. So back to the photography. This will be a subject as well. So speaking of traveling lights, which will be a subject. A subject will be this of the creator and the piece together, like that interaction I like. And there will be one about happiness by nature. That's the name of it. Happiness by nature. I actually came up with it yesterday night before I went to sleep.
That's nice. And you can interpret that in many different ways too. You can take it literally, or you can, you know. But yeah, sorry, go on.
Yeah. But for sure,
and it's got a nice ring to it too.
That's that. Yeah. So that will be the name of it, and the photographs which will include this subject are about. So on my travels, I will go to farms, to organic farms, to do volunteering work. This is how I will spend my time, not saving much money and being able to be in beautiful environments to shoot. But a big passion of mine also is health through food and health through the way of living. And in earlier travels, we spoke about it last time a bit, because there's much more to say.
Oh, dude, we can talk all day, dude.
For sure. But I saw a lot of people which are very healthy in lots of different ways. So a healthy mind, healthy body, kindness, which I also find healthy. And they were living a very natural life. So back in nature,
close
very
to
basic,
nature.
very much with each other and everything. And in these organic farms, I know I will find this again as well. And this is why I'm going there for me personally as well, to cleanse up, to be strong. But I want to capture that as well, that happiness throughout the close relationship to nature. And
that's cool, man. Like if you get with photography, if you get a certain theme, that's always good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think in photography, if you want to get people interested in it, a good way to do it is you just have one subject or one theme, and so that's I like the idea, man. That's a cool concept too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I find it interesting. I think they call this documentary photography, and so basically the idea is that at the end of this process, there's like a range of photos, which we called the subject earlier, which tells something about each other as well. So a photograph on itself can be beautiful or can be creating emotions or anything, but a line, like a range of photographs next to each other, they can be a strong story together too.
Yeah,
and it's not necessary that they're all made in the same place. Like I'll travel from France down to Spain, down to Portugal, down to Morocco. That's my plan, at least. But the different farm smiles from all these different places, or the different traveling lights. Or
that's not a good name, man. The different farming smiles. It's a good band name too.
Yeah, maybe it's the Christian farming project.
Oh man, that's a good name for a punk band. The Christian Farming Project.
Oh yeah. Edgy.
Oh man,
nice.
All right. That's cool, man. That's a good idea. And
thanks.
Yeah, I like it. And the last time we talked, you were talking about the van or the camper you bought, and it's in the shop right now. They're still working on it, or
yeah. Like I'm buying it from people which I met earlier, and they're like making the last fixes at the moment. So probably somewhere next week I will visit them and see the camper, and man, that's very exciting.
Yeah.
It will be my house for a good year or something.
What's the make and model again?
It's a Fiat Ducato, and it's like for what I've been told, it's a reliable old camper.
What's yeah, and only an old granny drove it.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
But what year is it from? How many? What's on the?
It's old, man. It's old. It's from 1991.
Okay.
So it's very old, and I don't mind. It means it's cheap as well. And when I
what's the mileage or
I'm not sure, like 300,000 something
kilometers.
Kilometers, yes.
Yeah.
And
it's 180. Yeah.
Every time I think of it as being a potential object of breaking down, like I'm in the road somewhere in France or in Morocco and it will break down. Every time I come up with the idea of, but I have time, and
that's just another adventure, right?
I really have the time. I don't have to be somewhere at a certain time, at a certain place. I can just take the time there to figure out what's cool and find the nearest farmer, and maybe he knows how to fix a car.
Right.
And
that's cool, man. Yeah, I love it. That's
I mean, this time I'm not going very far away from home. So it's kind of like I'm in the EU, or I'm close from home.
So-
and to add some adventure to the trip, I take some risks sometimes.
Right. Yeah. No, that's great, man. That's yeah. Yeah, if everything's planned, and everything goes to plan, it's kind of boring.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man, okay. So yeah, you're going to the organic farms, and then you gotta take your pictures there, and yeah, I'm sure that's gonna be another cool adventure.
Yes.
Yeah. Again, like just plug your photography page or whatever. Like,
Yes. Well, it's called marnixphotography.com.
Okay.
And that's basically the name where I work with to show all this. So also this name on Facebook will bring you to what I make.
Marnix Photography, yeah. Okay. And previously you also said you had some big revelations on your trip. Like like we said last show, you obviously you came back a different person to us. Like a different person. It had definitely affected you in a major way. Mm-hmm. And yeah, you were telling me some stories about why it enlightened you, and one was through psychedelics.
Mm-hmm. That's definitely part of it. Let me first explain, because you're saying you came back from travels and then you were different to us. A bit of explanation right there. Dick and me are good friends. We know each other already for 15 years or somewhat, and we have a group of friends. We see each other here in the Netherlands, in Rotterdam, and that's a really warm, kind, respectful group of people together.
Oh yeah.
So props to that. Thank you guys for everything.
Yeah, you guys are like family, man. It's awesome.
Sure.
It's,
for sure.
Yeah.
So for sure. That said, so that's how you know me, and you saw me after my travels. I was away for 1.5 years, going to Nepal, going to Melbourne, stayed in Melbourne for a bit, and traveled Papua New Guinea, which was a very cool experience too. And when I was in Nepal, that was the start of my travel. I just took a one-way ticket to Nepal, basically, and there a new book opened, and I met different people and started a new path. At some point, I took psychedelic drugs, and I didn't know that before. Like here in the Netherlands, I have been experimenting with drugs for sure, and there was different stuff around. And
can you name some?
For sure, yeah, man. Ecstasy. That's a party drug people use a lot, and then there's a list of things like cocaine and speed. Of course, we can smoke weed wherever we want in here, and alcohol and coffee are definitely part of this list as well. So different stuff, and but yeah, like I like to experiment and like to try new things and to learn from that, and so in Nepal, I tried psychedelic drugs on a festival.
And in Nepal, is it like a music festival, or?
It's basically travelers coming together, and creating a gathering of travelers, which they just met on the road or within the city there, and they drive with jeeps up to the hill into some forest where there's an open field. And there they put their speakers, which they rented, and there's DJ guys, and there's fire spinning girls, and there's people making food, and there's so everybody brings something to the festival which they can share, and they can use the stuff other people bring.
So it's not like a big organized official kind of thing.
Nothing like that.
Wow. No. That's cool. And did you knew these people, or was it just something that was just going on there while you happened to be there, or?
Like in my case, I became friends with the guy who started organizing this. And organizing means you meet up in a cafe, and then there's two people, and you get the idea, and you get enthusiastic, and you all know a bunch of people to take, and then you say it's going to be in 2 weeks, and people will ask more people, and suddenly there's like 60, some were 100, some were 150 people all together.
So that's a cool little group, man. That's
it's very hippish.
Yeah, I believe it, and it just spread through word of mouth. It was like the internet wasn't involved, because you probably barely have internet over there. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah,
And wow. And did you get to meet these guys in like a hostel there, or
something like that in Pokhara in the city in Nepal where I was staying? I stayed there for fucking 5 months, man. That was a beautiful time.
What's the name of the place? Pokhara in Nepal. Okay.
Next to the Buai Lake. It's in close to the Annapurna region of Nepal, and the Annapurna region is a beautiful range of mountains, and that's very close from that city.
Okay.
But yeah, psychedelic drugs suddenly were there. Something a lot of people were using. It was really like going on, and it really set the vibe, which was like psychedelic, if you will. Like also the dresses of people and the way people are, but also
it was like the 1960s. Like,
in a sense, but maybe a bit more psychedelic, and
even more.
But people spoke the meaningful stuff, and were very kind, and were very open and positive, and that really opened my eyes as well. Like, wow, this is people really trying to give other people something positive to create a better environment.
Right, and it just happened naturally, right? It wasn't like there was like one major cause going on or whatever. It just people were just interacting in a very positive way.
Yes, for
naturally.
Sure. Yeah, yeah. I have never saw that before. And then we took LSD. I had some friends there, and we took LSD. And within that environment,
so you're in the woods, or
in the
like
woods,
this
like on a hill,
place,
yeah. And at some point, the fucking sun rose, and we saw sunrise over mountains and white hilltops. It was like emotionally beautiful,
right?
And we did that trip as well, and yeah, like with the trip of acid or LSD. A lot of stuff happened, man. You seem to think on molecular basis, or as in universal wideness. Like you can reach stuff within your reality which you didn't reach before, and so it's like throwing the dice, if you will. Like it's a bit of an experiment. It's definitely a trip, like at a walkway. You go through different phases, but it's definitely. It stirs up the mind in a sense. The feeling of connection is there a lot as well. To trees, man. At some point, I took a piss in the woods. Man, this was the most beautiful thing I did in my life up to that moment, man. I felt the liquid was going out of my body into the ground where I was standing on, and I saw this whole. In my mind, I saw the interaction within the sky, which pours down liquid for the plants and the trees here to live, and I got more in touch with the wholeness, the holisticness of stuff, and that was a very cool experience. It wakens something. It can waken something up.
Yeah,
like it can help you on your spiritual path. Of course, it's not you don't get enlightened if you use acid every day. It's a practice of getting enlightened, but it really can give you insights and inspire you for sure.
Yeah, I mean, what's more interesting than just see what your mind can come up with, kind of. I think that's what it basically is, right? I mean, changes the way you think, and that can lead to some insights. And like probably when the trip is over and you're back into reality, like the things you realized during that whole thing, that those things will stick with you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Wow, that's cool. Mm-hmm. So you saw the connection with, okay. The dry throat, man.
Yeah. We've been speaking.
Yeah.
So, that was an interesting experience, and
that's also probably why you want to do the farming thing now, mm-hmm. because you saw that connection and that like the circle of things and all that.
Mm-hmm. Like what motivates this decision to travel right now, next month, is comes from a lot of stuff, a lot of insights, a lot of moments of realization, or a lot of things I like. It's one big decision which includes most of my motivation. But this experience, like you say, for sure has been part of that. Yeah, for sure has been part of that. And I'm not a big user, but I find it interesting too.
Yeah, don't get the wrong idea. This guy is, he holds down a job. He does everything right. He's not some strung out loser or whatever. So because let's make that clear.
Okay, thanks for that.
Yeah.
But I am interested, and so before I will go, I will try to do ayahuasca as well.
All right.
Ayahuasca is
that's like a religious thing, right?
Yeah. It's a very strong trip like this, which originally comes from the Amazon in Brazil, Amazon region, like by the river, and that's a very rich part of nature as well. Like a lot of different plants and stuff in the ground, and then they make it, I think, from a plant, and I boiled. It's a whole process of making it, and it's they use it a lot to have sessions and to because it's a strong trip. So you will definitely go inside and find stuff, or be confronted with stuff which is inside, and really helps you with your process of developing yourself as a human being.
But is it the same stuff that the American Indians use for like their medicine men and
Well, like for sure it's not the exact same recipe, but for as long as we can look back into history, we've been using the nature and the stuff which grows around us to stimulate ourselves, for ideas, for the inspiration. Like also how people used it a lot in the old tribes and the Indians. They were thinking they were in touch with the gods and could speak with them. But this is like, if you look, it's the same. If you look at to a more rational mind, then you would call it like getting inspiration or developing yourself. But it's the same thing. It's being inspired about the holisticness of life and how we can grow within that and learn lessons within that. And so everybody has been doing it. And also weed is there as a part of that. People have been smoking that everywhere, also back in nature. So this is something we can use as a tool to develop ourselves these days. It's important to know that you got a responsibility as well, like mainly to yourself. Like by using it, you're doing something with yourself, and the better you can understand what you're doing, not the process of doing it, not the exact effect, but what you are doing to yourself. Like you're stepping outside of a reality, which you call reality, and you have to deal with the relationship with these two realities. But having being aware of the fact that you have a responsibility will make you make the right decisions when you have to dose stuff for yourself or anything.
Yeah. So in other words, be careful.
Yeah. It's very fun, but you need to be responsible too.
Right. Yeah. It's a bad idea to when you're in a strange city somewhere and just like, hey, let's do acid, see what happens. And you're with a bunch of strangers. And
the funny thing is, we cannot apply rules to this, because this can be really fun and this can be really cool. And like if you are surrounded suddenly with cool people and they do the same or whatever. So in any moment it can be a good idea, but
or a bad idea, right?
Yeah, or a bad idea. Yeah.
Right.
Listen to your gut.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's yeah. Did you do any research before you got into it? Like, did you?
Mostly not.
Okay.
Mostly, It happened to me more often, like also with previous drugs or anything, that I was in a certain moment at a certain time in a certain place where there was suddenly this drug and me being there together in the same moment, and at that moment I decided to try it. trusting my gut, trusting the people who were around me, or whatever their advice could be to me. But anyway, like you can do it in different ways. If you're interested to do a certain thing, then you can really study about it and see what people write about it. But up to the moment you try, you will never have the experience of the drug. So you can read a lot, but it will never tell you really what it is. So that's why at some point, if you're curious, you will be experimenting with it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's like words can't really describe what it's like, right? Because it's
for sure
such an intense, deep experience.
Yeah.
Like,
the language is very poor. Like language is
it seems very limited.
Yes.
I hear you. Yeah, like it's words just can't reach the grandness of the experience, if you will, right?
We're trying to use the right words to give an explanation of what we feel deep inside as the moment we try to describe. But I cannot share the moment with you. I can describe it,
right?
And that's the like. It's the only way we can communicate so precisely, and so strict. But because of that, it's a poor thing as well. Like being next to somebody without speaking words, there's a communication going on for sure, and that's a much more subtle, much more complete interaction, really. But adding words to that, then you have suddenly the tool of being very precise and very detailed. So you can speak of certain subjects and ask for opinions and everything.
Right.
But language on itself is not a very rich element.
Right. There's just not enough words, or not the right words, and some things simply cannot be described with words. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
For sure. A photograph, for example.
Yeah, man, I need a drink, man. Like I'm
Let's
gonna
have a
grab a
break.
beer. Yeah. All right, we're back.
All right.
Right, we got a nice beer.
Yes,
it's best medicine for a dry throat. This would be a good place to put some commercials, man. Like,
do you have some?
Yeah.
Are you sponsored, Dick?
Yeah, the Maibatsu Thunder 2017 model. Yeah,
lovely.
Oh man, yeah. So we were talking about acid. Like, did you use some other drugs as well, or?
Yeah, man. In that same period of time. I tried DMT.
DMT. Yeah, and what does it stand for?
I'm not sure, man. I'm not sure.
What is it? Is it like a chemical? Is it?
It's a very, very. That's the cool thing about it. It's very rare.
Okay.
And it's well, at least in our environment, and it's a very pure part, and it's made from plants only, and it's very old as well. I guess it's yeah. No, I'm not guessing. It's very old.
Okay.
And
people have been partying for a long time.
yeah. But this is an interesting trip. It only lasts from like 10 to 15 minutes, so very short.
And then
it's
right after that you're like back, like
yeah. But it comes in and it goes away. Like it fades in and it fades away, and that's a very dreamy trip. You are half in the dream world, half in the. It's a bit visual as well, like the psychedelics are, because this I would consider psychedelics as well.
Yeah, because with acid, you did you actually see things too, or?
Yeah, a bit like changing stuff, and I didn't see like pink elephants running by, but
that's like those cliches. Like I've never done that, but is any of it true? Like, do you
possibly? Okay. On mushrooms or something, a very strong trip. I'm not sure, but I've never had that. Like I see some, and that's different from person to person as well, definitely.
Okay.
So I see stuff changing and moving a bit, and being more creative towards each other, and shrinking a bit, and or widening up a bit, like a bit of that.
Right.
And but with the DMT, this is not that strong. I mean, you're half in a dream world, but this is a really peaceful, inspiring trip. They had several reasons to do that.
What do you mean, the dream world?
Well, to find the right words, which is also always a hard thing.
Yeah.
This I would consider as one of the best short descriptions, because it's like you can. It's like a lucid dream in a sense, because you can send it a bit. You can go to different parts. Let's see the clouds moving. You feel this whole interaction as well between clouds and ground, and you're the middle. You're in the middle of that, and it's an inspiring thing too.
Okay, so
I've only did it once actually.
Does it like make you feel like really small, or are you just kind of like floating through the universe or something? Like,
well, yeah, that can be, but it depends on your perspective. Like it widens up your perspective, and sometimes you feel very small because you look at it from a very big perspective, and sometimes you can feel like the center of your thing. It's about like walking different paths in your brain, or in your reality, where you usually don't walk, and you see these different connections to each other. And I mean, it's cool stuff, man. It's cool stuff.
All right, so did that lead to some like big insights? Like, did it make you realize things or look at things a different kind of way, or?
Well, like I said earlier, this how I look to things, or how we look to things, are determined by a long past, a past of our own life, and even further, because you grow up in a certain environment which is shaped
by your ancestors. Yeah.
And yeah, so yeah, this for sure adds some stuff to my reality and to what I know. But I cannot hang a certain insight to this very event. I've like when I was traveling, I was in a process of really widening my horizon. I met different people, saw people doing stuff or living totally different than I used to. And as a result of that, I found myself, and so on later practiced, to be more respectful to stuff and be more open to the world happening around us. And because of that, I learned much more. Because before that, I used to, when I saw something, give an explanation. But later on, I found myself in that moment preferably asking a question. And just to go deeper into that.
That's awesome, dude. Yeah.
And this is not what I am. Like every moment of the day, I'm not an enlightened Buddha who is floating everywhere. But it definitely helped me to live a much more comfortable life.
Right.
To be respectful and
just to see things for what they are, and just kind of wonder why they are without, judging, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. The judging part is very important. Also to ourselves. Oh man, we judge ourselves so much. We have so much judgment towards ourselves in any way. Like if it's not long enough, it's not big enough, it's not strong enough. And here it starts, the very practice of living a happier life. The judgment towards ourselves. That's a core of being happy, and also to share love. Like if we. You cannot love somebody else if you don't love yourself. That's a very important thing to understand. And this is part of these practices. This is part of what came to me during these travels. Yeah,
that's cool, man. That's deep. That's awesome. Yeah. Okay, so DMT. So where did you do that? Like,
I did this also in Nepal on a hillside, looking up to the mountains as well. It was so impressive.
I'm sure that being in such an incredibly impressive place, that had a huge impact on the whole thing as well.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, if we would do it right here, right now, on this balcony, looking towards another flat, it would be a different experience.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. But yeah.
I would still be up for it.
Man. Yeah, well, being on a balcony, I don't know, man. I might get some ideas that can fly or some shit. And I will for a little bit, but but that's crazy talk, man. But yeah, you're on you're on the mountain within this incredible environment, and then you went into your trip with some interesting people, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was my good friend from Nepal, a Nepali guy, Lakshman. Mm-hmm. He was next to me doing the same, and there was an American girl there, which actually came with this DMT, and that was our experience. But man, all the time I have to think about this. So a few weeks later, we jump a bit in time. A few weeks later, I was on a festival as well, and
same kind of
same kind of concept, a bit bigger, and there I was with a beautiful girl, a beautiful blonde girl from the United Kingdom. It was very beautiful, and I had a trip there as well. We danced all night on music, and afterwards, she found. So this is a story about doing crazy stuff while it's still kind of okay.
Okay.
I was going out of my acid trip, and we were sitting next to the fire, and there was a guy playing guitar next to us. It was like it's like this, and then she came with the idea of, "Hey, Marnix, why not get this liquid drops from this guy over there, which I tried earlier, and then get our sleeping bags and walk down the hill to a place where nobody can see us anymore, and just spread our sleeping bags in the grass, in the rice fields, the rice paddies, looking towards this waterfall, watching sunrise together." Holy shit! This is a very, so this is also makes me what I am, and this is that was a beautiful experience. We took these drops at this guy, paid him some stuff or gave him some hash or whatever, and we walked down the hill together, spread our sleeping bags, laid down next to each other. There was the moment this drug was gonna kick in and put both of us on some warm cloud, seeing the sun come up above the hills, covered by jungle and birds flying and insects doing their work. Being in the middle of this, hearing the sound of the waterfall, having this beautiful naked body very close to mine. That was a round circle, man.
That sounds awesome.
Who needs a TV, man? Seriously, who needs a TV?
That's a very interesting conclusion, man. But I love it.
Yeah. But it's an interesting
TV,
thing,
man.
Yep. We can't stop now.
Oh, that's funny, man. Yeah. Yeah, sorry. Continue.
Yeah. Like we've been speaking about drugs, and for me, a very cool part of that is also like the experience of doing drugs together with a woman,
mm-hmm.
and because you get naked even a few layers more because you're both jumping in this experience and helping each other and going through this. In Melbourne, I spoke about this last time. In Melbourne, I had a very, very badass experience as well, man. It was my last night in Melbourne, and I saved up some money to travel. And I met a beautiful woman earlier that week, and I went to the airport, and the whole night we partied, and I had to go early to the airport, early in the morning. And I came at the airport, and I pulled out of my pocket, I pulled the flight schedule. And the first thing what I saw on the flight schedule was the date 26th. While it was the 23rd that day.
Okay. So you were a couple of days off when you were at the airport.
I was a couple of days early. And that was a very fucking strange experience because I was still drunk we went the whole night out with all my friends in Melbourne. And I was at the airport. I took a cab, took all my stuff. I had snare drums and a cajon and cymbals for my drum kit. With all my stuff packed up, ready in the airport, ready to go. And I looked at my e-ticket, and the first thing I saw, my eyes were there, was the date of the 26th. And then I closed it.
I'm just curious what the fuck you were doing. How you could like just confuse like 2 days where you have a flight.
That's because I just watched it earlier and I forgot about this. This doesn't happen to me much. That's why it was so cool. So, and I couldn't believe. So I fold the paper again, put it back in my pocket, and then I walked I wanted to walk like 100 steps or something, but I walked 15. Then I opened the thing again and watched, and the first thing I saw was the date of 26th. And then I read the whole paper, and so I misundertaken for 3 days. Okay, then I went back because suddenly I was in Melbourne. Nobody was going to know that I was in Melbourne. So I felt a bit free at that moment.
Right, yeah. That's.
On this particular moment, I knew I had 3 more nights in Melbourne. I was going to surprise my friends for 2 days. And the last night, I wanted to see this girl who I spoke of, because that's where the story started.
This is the same one that you went to where you saw the sunset with? Or?
The sunset was in Nepal.
Oh, okay.
And this is in Melbourne, a bit later on my travel. So I knew I was going to have 3 more days. So I sent this woman a message. I received 3 more days in Melbourne to spend, and the last night I would like to spend with you in a very badass hotel room, all the way up in some tower, because it was a very big city. It still is. And to spend the night there together, to take everything with us, what we like to be with. So musical instruments and everything. I had all my stuff with me, but also drugs and be there the whole night together. And we only met once on a festival. We spoke very briefly. So and that was my last night in Melbourne. So I went with her. She picked me up from my home with all my stuff, my suitcases, and again snare drums and cymbals and cajons, and it was full of instruments, and then all my clothes and books and shit. And went up to this very cool suite.
Did the people in the hotel were like what are you doing?
Maybe.
It's like bringing a band to the penthouse.
What's the plan, dude? Yeah, no, they were kind of cool. They saw maybe that it was a suitcase to travel. I don't know, but we went up into this beautiful place. With like a big jacuzzi on top of the roof and the big balcony and when we started off with a glass of champagne and a line of cocaine, and then
did you sniff it off her ass?
No, I didn't sniff it. Oh, that's a good idea, man. Fuck. No, I didn't sniff. But we went inside the jacuzzi, and then the whole night started. I mean, we had like 9 hours or 10 hours to spend together. It was night, and I was going to leave the next morning early again. And you go through a whole process together, like of being silenced together, of being very physical together, but also having conversation or listening to music. You get very close to the skin of a woman in those hours, and that's a very nice thing to feed, a very nice thing to share. Like, she was my woman at that moment, man. I didn't have any other women. This was the woman which was with me, so that I was with my complete heart and my complete soul with her, and knowing that it was going to end. But this moment of sharing is interesting, and it's an interesting thing to do on drugs as well.
Right. So you're partying with champagne and coke. That's rock and roll, man. Yeah. It's nice to be a bit rock and roll sometimes. Like also for photography, like I said earlier, like making rock and roll photography in a way of using the camera, or just go out at night in your own and let your child mind make decision. That's a bit of rock and roll, man, and that's I find inspiring to use a thing as a. Like it's somewhere down there. Like, you have a crazy idea. Why not? Let's do this. Right.
And then just follow it if it's a good idea.
Oh, yeah, that does sound like a great way to spend a layover somewhere.
Yeah, and then I jumped into the airplane to Papua New Guinea the next morning, still smelling like woman, and being high from love, with my head somewhere higher than I was flying even.
You're in heaven.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you landed in Papua New Guinea, and last time you talked about the tribe and all that, and did you have some experience there as well, similar? Or?
Yeah, man. In Papua New Guinea, they don't have any. It's not a developed place. They don't have any ecstasy or whatever. Yeah, maybe somewhere in the well, the expats are, but not in the villages, not in the jungle where I've been staying. And they do something which is called Buai.
Is that the plant where they chew on and
I'll explain it because there comes some stuff with it. Yeah, it's this thing, man.
Yeah.
So first of all, they use a dried piece of seed from a plant.
Right.
And this was first a flower, and then this like downwards up to 15 centimeters. There hangs these seeds all bundled together, and they pick it when it's hanging there, and they dry it underneath the sun, and so that it shrinks and becomes a dry piece where you can kind of chew on because the moisture is out. Mm-hmm. This is element 1. Excuse me about the names. I cannot remember all the names of these elements in Tok Pisin, the language of Papua New Guinea at this moment. But I'll just speak of the different how it works because it's very cool.
I wouldn't advise people just to go search for it. You know,
no, you have to do it there. That's it. But okay, so this is the first element.
Bad, okay.
This is the first thing. That's the dried thing. Okay, then you have a white powder, and they make it from shells, which are from shellfish, which grows in the riverbank. And they burn these shells and until they become white ash, and then they grind this into white powder. And this is where they dip the dried seed in to later put in their mouth, break off a piece and chew on it. The most important thing, so this is the second element. The most important thing is the betel nut. That's how it's called, betel nut.
Okay.
The buai. And that's a seed which grows in the jungle. It's basically some sort of, like how we know the peanut or other, like chickpeas or anything, this way of growing. But it's a soft, like wooden outside, which you have to break off with your teeth. And then inside there's this seed, like a very young peanut or something, a big one of like an inch wide, 2 centimeters, something. And this you chew on at first. So you break off the wooden parts, and you take the seed inside your mouth and you chew on it. And the inside of your mouth is being covered with a bitter, sour, very dry kind of liquid. And then you have to chew like 10, 15 times, so it mixes a bit with your
saliva.
Yeah. And then you dip in the dried thing, which looks like a fucking dried caterpillar, into the white powder, and you put it in between where you're chewing on the betel nut.
Okay.
And if you chew well and use the right technique, and this requires a bit of practice, this suddenly becomes like a red. And I mean, like red paste, and this is what spreads your mouth. And this is you see this when you've done it properly, and it gives them like a high, which we can compare with a comfortable, so not the hyped up, but a comfortable caffeine high. So a strong, if you take 2 cups of coffee. Shortly after each other, and you get this awakeness kind of
like
mode.
You're like wired.
Yeah, exactly. Like you're there, and they use that, and it's very much from jungle, very much from nature. And in their life, it fits in a beautiful way because the men use it because they're very protective. When there's the tribe living in the jungle, at night there will be guys standing at certain posts, like around the place. And for them to be awake and alert, they use this as a tool, really.
Okay.
And also these days, like I've been driving a whole night, a guy driving a big truck with all people in the back, and that was his job, and he drove 18 hours in a row and the whole night included in that as well, and he was just awake all the time because he was with his guys open, his eyes wide open, just chewing on the betel nut, smoking a bit of Bruce sometimes, that's the local tobacco, and then
it's like like the truckers do it too, but they do it with speed.
yeah, these truckers, exactly.
Yeah.
So we find our ways, man. We find our ways.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Have you tried that too, or?
Yes.
And just describe what they look like when they do that. Like,
so they don't change much. They get a bit relaxed and the eyes get wide open.
No, but I mean, like I've seen pictures of people who are doing that, and they look like vampires.
Yes,
man.
That's very true. Your whole mouth or your teeth are getting red, man, fucking red. And there's guys there who do this every day, and they live in the jungle next to a campfire, and they have their little hut, and they just collect this from nature as they collect all their foods and anything, and they use this, and their teeth are very red. I will put up pictures from this, man. That's a good idea. Because after years of doing this, your teeth will become black and brown and start to like go away. It's a very big impact on your teeth doing this. And that makes their mouth very like brown and like animalistic, man. Animalistic.
It's crazy. Yeah, it's... do put those pictures up, man.
This is very cool.
If you can send me some of those pictures, I'll put them in the show notes. Like it's it looks crazy.
Yeah.
It's All right, so okay, so you did that too, not too long because your teeth look pretty good to me.
Yeah, it's fine. No, I did it just a couple of times.
All right.
Over there with the Papua New Guineans, being in their environment, being in their home.
Right.
They called me the white man because the place where I stayed for a couple of weeks, most of them had never seen a white man before.
Really?
And
wow.
Going through their life, that's very amazing. And why we could connect so much, because they showed and learned me a lot, is because we were at the same level, man. I was there were two old men, and they told me about a visit of a white man much earlier in their lives. And what they remembered was that, of course, these white men were treated like guests, but these white men, they wanted to eat their own food and do it in their way and eat their medicines and be very excluded to their own beliefs. And what they respected so much about my visit was the fact that I was eating their food and using their medicines. They treated me on my food when I had a wound with their plants, and it very much helped. Very much helped compared to a different wound, which was much smaller, which I had on the other side of my foot, which they didn't treat it.
Okay.
So yeah, that's a beautiful thing. I liked to eat their foods, to be with them, and also eat whatever they were using as a drug. And because of this, I sat next to them at the fire, eating the bananas from the fire, and there, that was the moment we could connect and really look each other in the eyes and tell stories or understand something together.
That's cool. Yeah. Did they? You think they taught something from you as well, or?
Sorry?
Do you think, like you said, they taught you a lot? Do you think they'll learn things from you? Like,
I'm not sure. I tried to, though, because it was a very interesting meeting. Because they were not familiar with my perspective or my world, like how the world looks here. I explained them that we have streets and cars and lights and old buildings and people living close to each other and exchanging stuff through with money and this whole what's normal for us, that was not normal there, and so you understand things differently. And I found it so cool that we could build a bridge together to the middle and understand from there, and because there's a lot of things common as well. We were humans, we were breathing the same air, eating the same food, so it's and that really widens my horizon, and that really showed me also a different way of being happy. And so this is what I would like to capture in photography.
Right.
Like this happiness, this core of balance, where people just, of course, everything happens. Like people die and people get sick, and it's the life. But the gratefulness or the respect, which is common, and when there's more pressure on these people, that's just something cool to capture. Also because I find it worth it. Like it helped me a lot to become a more comfortable person towards myself. And I want to share this, man. That's good for more people than just me. I believe this. No.
Yeah. And I think that's man, this wind.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the good thing. That's one of the best things about traveling in general too. Just to see how people interact in a different place and how they do things. Like the more reference you get in that, I think the more you can like understand things about your own society and all that. You know, it's
well said.
It really it's traveling really. It's one of those platitudes, but it's the only thing that costs money, but makes you richer or something. You know, like but
I know what you mean.
But that's true.
Yeah,
like
I
it's
know what you mean. Richness in experience or understanding.
Yeah, and it's worth so much too. You know, it's
it's not for everybody, of course. There will also be people who really like to stay home, and that's fine too. But for me, it worked this way.
Yeah, and especially I think especially since you've been to places that are just not just a little different, but just completely different. You know, like I think that like the bigger the difference is,
the contrast.
The bigger the contrast is, the
wider the horizon, man.
Yeah, the more you tend to get from it one way or the other. You know, it's
and then it makes it less of a holiday as well.
Yeah, really, man.
Being with these people, I was included into a family at some point in Papua New Guinea.
Yeah, and this was like just I remember last show you were talking about traveling with the jeeps, and they like the jeep just dropped you off in this place, and that's where you stayed there for like a month, right?
I had kind of an appointment where the jeep dropped me off.
Okay,
with a guy who was gonna host me, an older man, Jerry, from Papua New Guinea, and he was a bit of a diplomatic guy, if you can say it in these terms, because we speak about the jungle,
right.
But they're arranging some stuff, and his English was quite good, and we could communicate. And he invited me to his home because he heard from me that I was very interested to see the tribe life, like to see Mama cooking, how she cooks, what kind of ingredients she uses, on what she cooks, and see the nature and the stuff around. So he invited me to his place. And from there, I stayed a couple of weeks. And because a tribe is a big family, they don't think in terms of family as we think in family, like our blood relatives, but they think in terms of family as the tribe.
Family, you told me
tribe,
last show too, like everyone's like a brother or cousin,
exactly. And so it's normal to have multiple sons from multiple blood parents. So at some point he said Max, because my name is Max when I'm in countries like this. Just is because it's easier. I sometimes call myself Jack when I'm in English-speaking countries. Because Dick could be misunderstood.
Yeah, well, dude, like I've had dudes wanting to fight me because they thought I was fucking with them. I was just hanging out in a bar and just making a chat, and we were just hey, by the way, man, my name's Dick, and I shook the guy's hand, and he held my hand, and he like squeezed my hand, looked at me like, what are you saying? Like, and I said, yeah, my name is Dick. That's my name, man. I'll pull out my driver's license, and then it happened to me a couple of times where dudes just thought I was trying to fuck with them. Yeah, so Max.
Yeah, Max.
A little sidebar there, but funny story.
Different. No, yeah, he held my hand, and we were with different people. And at some point, he said, "This guy Jerry from Papua New Guinea, older man, Max, you're my son. You can call me Papa." And from that moment, he had introduced different people to me in the tribe, as in, you can call him cousin. Or you can call him your brother too. He's a son of mine too. He had many sons. Jerry had many sons. And yeah, man, I stayed with them because of this beautiful invitation from Jerry to take me to his home inside the jungle. And when I asked him about that, like, why did he invite me? He said, because I saw in you that you really wanted to see how the tribe was. Like, you answered my questions, being interested to how Mama cooks, what ingredients she uses, and how we really live. You were really interested in us, and just because of this curiosity, I could have really this nice interaction, and that's a really cool experience for my life, man.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, we might have to move inside because there's like this wind makes a lot of noise. Like, yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, want to do that?
Man, I'm stoned.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so now we're inside. Different. Yeah, next topic, I guess. Mm-hmm. We were talking earlier about martial arts too. At one point, like you said about doing drugs and all that, it focuses your mind differently. But then we started talking about martial arts, how that does that as well. Like, yeah. I mean, if there's, tell me about what you did. You did karate, right?
Yes, man. I did Kyokushinkai karate.
Okay.
And yeah, that's a form of martial art which they call full contact. So when you practice, when you fight each other, you're with your gi, so your suit, your karate suit, and just underneath that the naked body, and you're fighting each other with your bare fists and your bare hands and knees and foot and feet and everything. Like, it's the naked body to the naked body, and I found that for me that was an very cool experience to fight men.
Okay.
Yeah, to fight men. I've been doing that for like 12 years when I was younger, and yeah, it learned me a lot, man. An important thing in that way of doing sport or exercising is not only the physical movement but also the philosophy.
But that's different for every martial art, right?
That's different for every martial art, but the cool thing about the martial art, and that's why it's called an art, is that there's philosophy added to the training. So you do things because of a certain reason, because of strengthening your power, or because of being a stronger human being, or like there's philosophy involved. And one of these practices for this philosophy, especially in Kyokushinkai karate, is discipline. So we started the training at 7 o'clock at night, and we never knew when the training was going to be finished. Sometimes at 9, sometimes at 9:30, sometimes at 10 o'clock. We trained, and we never knew when it was finished. And so at some point you give over, you just train and work hard and be disciplined, and you just stop whenever it stops. Yeah, and this is a kind of discipline. It strengthened me, man. to do the tasks I need to do in life. It's just sometimes be with it until it's finished, or have that discipline inside to do whatever with your daily tasks.
I think discipline is that's probably one of the biggest predictors for success in life.
Whatever success may be.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But for sure, if there's something you'd like to reach, then it's just be noble to it and be respectful to it and be disciplined to it and work on it, whatever it might be. It might be being a nice person, it might be having a big business, or it might be repairing a lot of cars. But whatever this might be, if you're able to have this discipline and to work on it and know that it needs work and time, then it can grow to something. And that's with anything, like meditation as well.
Right.
If you want that to grow, then you practice.
Yes. Yeah. I did some kickboxing during my college days too. And there's less philosophy and tradition and wisdom in kickboxing, you know, like it's karate is like a very spiritual kind of thing. But during sparring, like we went at it pretty hard, you know, like we would just like you'd get punched in the face. But when you're up against someone and you know that's possible to happen, and you know you can do that to him as well, that creates such an insane laser focus.
Yes, man.
Because, you know, like every time you take a swing, you cannot defend yourself for a brief moment. So every time you try to attack the other one, you make yourself vulnerable, you know, and and that requires such an insane focus, and also discipline, because, you know, even though you're almost, your lungs are burning, you can barely stand on your feet. You know, if you just lose that focus for just a moment, that's when you lose. And you know, and that focus and that, you know, I think that's good for anybody.
Yes, man. It's a very deep instinct of ours to behave like this, to be in front of something what can attack you, and you can attack him. And there's no, if you do martial art, at least, this is what sometimes lacks in fighting sports like kickboxing, if you ask me. But if you do it without emotion, so if you can fight from out of the practice and from out of the act, instead of the fact that you're angry at some person.
Right, yeah.
Then this becomes a very strong practice, because you can hit hard, man. You can really make sure you're fighting, so the focus needs to be there, and then suddenly your body is able to get hit big time. Yeah, because your focus is there, and you know how to behave to it, and which muscle you need to tense to protect that part of your stomach, and the interaction then between these two bodies, it becomes like a dance, man. Every move of the other person makes you move in a way as well. Like your focus is completely his body, and to see this body in front of you, you see how his shoulders move, you see how his hips move, how his foot moves, because that determines where you need to protect or where you can attack. It's interaction. This is a fucking cool focus, man. This is where we are in touch with our body and focus and mentality and discipline, and try to stand up, even if you have pain, or even if you think that you're losing. Just be there and fight until it's finished, because somebody else will tell you when you need to stop fighting. And so this way, this makes your discipline grow a bit. This makes it a bit strong.
And if you're angry, that gets in the way of having that focus. That's why, you know, like during boxing matches and all that, that's where so much shit talking going on. Because if you can get inside the other person's head, you know, you have such an advantage. Yeah, because the other person you're up against, he's distracted. He's not, you know, he doesn't have that super focus. If you can get to someone,
exactly.
Yeah, and that's, you know, like guys like Conor McGregor and what's the big dude, the Gypsy King. Okay. Yeah, you know, like the
big boxing fighters.
Yeah, like he's like this huge guy. He defeated Klitschko 2 years ago. Tyson Fury.
Tyson
Yeah,
Fury.
Tyson. And he would just always just talk a whole bunch of shit, and yeah. And same with Mike Tyson. He also said, like if they look scared, they're fucked, and and that's 100% true. Or if they look angry, it's the exact same thing. Yeah. Or like the first Ronda Rousey defeat. I don't know if you saw that.
No.
She was so angry. And then Ronda Rousey versus Holly Holm in the UFC, and like Ronda, she was just really, really angry all the time, and then she just got destroyed because all she had was that anger, and it distracted her from
from her focus.
Yeah.
So you're a worse fighter even.
Yeah.
Like it's really
And I think that teaches you a good lesson in life too. Like if you really want to get something done, and it helps being focused on it. Like if you're emotionally invested in it, that's not always a good thing. And so I think if you that focus that you can gain in martial arts, you can apply it to many things in life too.
Definitely.
It makes you better for it in every way.
Yeah, you're trained for it. This is when you can experience that doing a practice, like going to these weekly trainings and be part of this and teach people and share this disciplined way of working with each other. This can really be a good stepping stone in any situation in life. Like if you need to work on, if you need to focus, even if you need to be disciplined to yourself to make a certain decision, or to stick to someone, or not to stick to someone, or to stick to yourself, to be able to work on it and have that focus, that's good for anybody, like you say. Perfect, yeah.
Yeah, it builds character.
As a result, yeah.
Yeah. No, man, like we talked about a lot of stuff today. It's I don't know. Was there anything else? Any topic you wanted to bring up, or?
I'm like last time. This is we just jumped in this, you and me, just being outside, just having these moments together. We just be with each other, and we speak like we normally do, and then we just hit certain topics, and that's fine to me. Like I've a beautiful feeling. We said many cool things to each other, and so for me, this is a nice ending. Yes.
Yeah. I think so too, man. Tell me again, where can people see your photos and find your stories?
Yeah, the photography, because the stories will be visual. The photography you can find on marnixphotography.com. And under the same name, Marnix Photography, you can find on Facebook the things I make and like to share with you.
Cool. And how many days are we away from your...
My depart.
That's another... Yeah, you wanted to talk about that. That's another... kind of interesting little thing. Like, what are you planning for your going away party again?
A lot of stuff, man. So... This is a moment people come there together because of the fact that I'm leaving, and I threw a party for this, and so that's not very common. Now suddenly a moment which I can create. I can add elements to this moment to make this something of its own, and this is why I'm gonna cook in a new concept. I'm going to cook in creating the dishes on big tables, which are covered by plastic, where you can eat from a few meters long, like 4 meters long by 1 meter wide. And I'm going to create one dish on this.
Oh, wow. So like the table is the entire plate, basically.
Yes, man. And this entire plate becomes the buffet. So then, when it's finished, people have their plates and come and scoop from the whole dish the elements they like, and they have their own plate.
Okay.
So it's a bigger plate where it becomes a buffet. And like this, I will do 2 or 3 courses. So one colder dish on a table, which has colder elements and roasted vegetables and some burnt nuts and create textures with this. And then a second table which has more warm elements, also like roasted meat and warmer structures like a puree and these elements and some sauce. And then a cold element as well. So a cold table which is white, and there I will create a dish with like in the more dessert style. So with fruits and sweet stuff, structures, some crispiness, and I'll cook with liquid nitrogen as well to like make a mousse.
Okay.
And the mousse structure has little balls of air in it.
Okay.
So if you freeze that, it becomes like a broth, like a crunchy bite, because the skins are going to be crunchy. A crunchy bite with little bits of air in it, so you can chew on it while it's ice. So a mousse structure is really cool to freeze, and we can freeze it in liquid nitrogen as we serve. So that's a nice way to finish that, because the whole table will be smoking, and you can within the smoke you can find the different textures of fruit and crispiness to make you a dessert plate.
Oh wow!
So
Dude,
that's about the cooking thing.
That's pretty amazing. Yeah. Take a sip of beer, man. You have a dry mouth. Like I can hear it
from the other side.
Yeah. Yeah, that's always fun. Like hearing people smacking. Like
yeah. This you end up really close to each other doing something like this. Yeah. So we speaking about the goodbye party.
Yeah.
And then in the I'm not gonna say everything, because there's still little surprises going on, of course.
Well, this will air after it's over. So.
Okay, but then we can speak. Then we can speak about my vision beforehand.
Yes,
all right.
Yeah. But by the time people get this on their phones, you're already in a mountain somewhere. You know?
Exactly. Yeah. Fishing.
Yes.
All right. So the second part will be. And it's going to be a cool moment as well, man. Like, I'm going to stop cooking over there. It's a restaurant where I've been working and helping to set it up. 1.5 years ago, we opened, and now it's running and I can step out. I'm going to finish cooking there. I've been cooking there for many, many, many hours over the past 1.5 years. And the moment I drop the pan, so finish the cooking part of the night, I'm going to grab my drumsticks and play music for the people who all decided to come that night to that place to say goodbye to me, because I'm not going to see them for a bit.
Right. Yeah. And by the way, like you're actually a really good drummer. Like it's not like you're some retard banging on, you know, like just it's you know, so that's, you know,
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. It's I'm sure that's going to be a great show. And you said you were going to do like your little brother's getting involved as well, right?
Yeah, Victor.
Yeah,
Victor. Like, I have the pleasure to grow up in a musical family, and my younger brother is a very good example of that. He has been studying classical piano here in Rotterdam, and now studies art as well in Antwerp. Being very much related to the piano. Piano is a big part of his life, and he expresses much in this.
He's amazing.
He's amazing.
Yeah,
Man.
yeah,
It's very, very beautiful. He made tears in my eyes a couple of times. So I have the pleasure to meet him.
By the way, does he have like a place where people can find him?
Not really, man. He's studying in Antwerp, also involving this in his theatrical performances, and but it's not. No, he's not yet that reachable. For like, not as I can. There will come a much more beautiful stream of what he can say, for sure. I have much trust in this.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because some of that stuff, man, that's just cool.
Yeah.
Like if you put it out there,
yeah,
people would listen to it. I'm sure.
Possible. Yeah.
But so he's getting involved as well.
Yeah. No. Well, we're gonna play together. So throughout our life, we've been playing much together. I was always the drummer, and he was always the pianist, and we made different songs, and throughout the years played different stuff. And now, and this I also find very interesting about leaving. now, because we were playing lately much, we had a reason to get something finished to show, because I was going to leave. And because there was a date and then like a deadline, really, we decided that at that goodbye party of mine, we're going to have something
like
to present.
Composition,
to have,
yeah.
And so we're making compositions for piano and drums, inventing own grooves, inventing own melodies, sometimes based on something found out during a jam, sometimes based on a melody which came in our head during having a cigarette. Anything what came to us in those moments of being together are added in the music, and we came with different grooves and different elements. Really, it becomes an own story. I have the happiness that he is a theatrical thinker as well, so he likes to add a story to it. Working with him really opened up the possibility of telling the stories about traveling, telling the stories about what we've learned in life or why I would make this decision. And these stories of my older travels or things we learned are going to be involved in this. So it becomes a bit of a theatrical, get some poetry inside. So
Okay.
it widens it up, and that's a very good thing. So I'm really happy to share that as well with the people who are going to be there. And of course, we have to add photography in it as well. So, and this is where the surprise a bit happens, because I'm not sure how I'm going to reach everybody with the photography yet. The concept of it, I want to give everybody one piece.
Okay.
And how this piece is going to find this person, this is the concept that I'm still thinking.
Right.
Maybe I'll let them pick, or maybe we'll see.
Well, the risk in that is that everyone's gonna want to have the same one.
Possible.
Yeah.
Possible. So we'll see. I'm not sure. This will happen. I'm not sure yet.
Right.
But I feel like there's a bridge can be built between this photography as well.
Well, maybe try to find. Here's an idea. Just try to find an analogy, in a way. Like I think this picture fits you because,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, I'm just thinking out loud, but
yeah, that's very possible.
That's a cool idea too.
I think this also can happen without thinking too much about it.
Yeah, probably.
And,
yeah.
and this is where I want to experiment with. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
So yeah, and that's cool, man. Then I can say, I can shake my full hand for goodbye time. Like I can share some new ideas in the stuff and
close a couple of chapters
as well. Close a couple of chapters, but also by these different expressions, have the people around me very close. Like they really close to my body, because I've been thinking about this, and I've been this came out of my stomach, if you will, and so we have been very close for a bit, so we can breathe out and be without each other for a bit as well.
Right. Okay.
If necessary, because anybody is welcome to join me. Mostly I'm camping somewhere on a grass field, close to a river, doing some volunteering at organic farms, and shooting, or playing music, or be with the people I meet. But I'm having a camper van, and
shooting, you mean making photos, right?
Yeah, shooting, making photos.
Yeah.
And anybody can come join me to camp.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool, man. Well, I think you've said it all.
Thanks, Dick, for listening so much, man. It's been a pleasure, really.
Dick, you want to fight, man?
Or Jack. Let's use Jack, man.
No, man. There's actually like a big voice guy who introduces every show. Mm-hmm. And he says, "Yeah, this your host is Dick Hube," and this yeah. People just gotta get used to it, man.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, dude. Well, one more time, your website, Marnix Photography.
Yes,
.com. Marnix Photography on Facebook, and yeah, man, like I wish you the best on your journey, and if you come back, I think we'll have to do this again, because I'm sure you'll have a lot of other interesting things to say.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that as well.
Yeah, and I'm gonna miss you, bro.
Yeah, me too. We've only been together now for a couple of weeks, and then I'm leaving again.
Yeah, man.
We're such a traveling generation, man.
Yeah, true. Very true. Well, I mean, we've traveled more than the average person, though.
Yeah, that's true.
It's
the environment, maybe. Our environment.
Yeah, but even in our friends group, man, like we're the only two who've been away for that long.
That's true.
Yeah.
It's well, yeah. Thanks again.
Yeah, thank you, dude. I had a great time.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll do it again in the future.
For sure.
Yeah.
It's always good. Thanks, man.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for listening. And see you next time. Tot ziens. All right, man.
Ciao.
You've been listening to the Polarizer Podcast. Check the show notes for links and details on literally everything that was discussed and mentioned during the show. Subscribe to this podcast for free on iTunes or your other favorite podcast directory to never miss an episode. And be so kind to give us a 5-star rating and review. Visit thepolarizer.com for high-quality articles on making life an adventure, traveling the world, being the best you can be, and other topics that fuel the fire in your soul. That's thepolarizer.com. One word, including the. Thank you for listening. And thanks for telling a friend. It really makes all the difference.